Welcome to Mind Your Wedding Business podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Dennis. In addition to leading the charge at Wedding IQ, I also run Fantasy Sound Event Services, a lighting and entertainment company based in Livermore, California, that I founded over 35 years ago. Each week on this podcast, you'll hear thought-provoking and empowering interviews with wedding professionals who have found success in the industry. If you're a business-minded wedding pro who loves love, but also cares about their bottom line, buckle up and get ready to learn from a new industry expert each week. So welcome to the first episode of Mind Your Wedding Business. We are going to be a weekly podcast talking about all things for your wedding business and just really bringing it in and just bringing all the wonderful things I've learned throughout the years and bringing wonderful guests on. And I think the biggest part about this podcast is we're going to have fun and helping people grow their business. So I am your host, Kevin Dennis. So I'd like to welcome myself to the show, so to speak. But also, I want to welcome my sister from another mister, but Meghan Ely. So I couldn't imagine doing this episode with anyone other than you, because you
threatened it for so long too.
Well,
I mean, this was always
yeah.
You were like, I'm going to do a podcast. You're the first one on. Like, you've said that for some time now. So I feel like that was our destiny, was to start like this.
Was that the night in New Orleans when we all went crazy?
That's a whole other podcast for another time. That will be behind a paywall.
Oh.
At a later date.
Good old Catersaurus. What year was that? I don't even remember. 2018, 2017? Oh, no, that's 19.
The 1900s.
I meant 2019. 2019.
Pre-pandemic.
No. Yeah, it was definitely.
Times.
Maybe 18. It was in New Orleans.
I know.
It was
Facebook
one of those.
Reminds me. I literally recovered last week from it. So it's at some point it's been some time.
Good old Razzoos. Okay. All right.
Shout out to Razzoos, New Orleans.
So as we go, as you can tell, we're going to have a lot of fun on this, and we're being really silly and going to have, go crazy. But anyway, so Meghan, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to get into how we met, and then why I'm going to put you on the spot, why you think this is going to be fun every week. So let's start.
Okay.
Right.
Am I doing my actual bio, or like a bio that you think, like you think is my origin story? Like where are we going with this?
Good point. Because the whole sister thing, let's clarify that.
Let's clear the air.
Yeah, because Meghan foolishly has me introduce her at conferences, and I think she likes the punishment. I'm going to be honest with you, because
I don't even ask you though. I'm just like, you're coming, right? Because that's been the plan the whole time you're introducing me. I just am letting you in on that. Yeah.
So now we have I always wear my Meghan Ely socks that day,
which are socks with my face on them, just for the uninitiated there.
And I always pull them up so people can see the socks when I walk. Yeah. And then one time you foolishly told me, just everything. Just
say whatever.
Say whatever. So I went out and I was really nice to you. I gave you all kinds of good accolades and everything.
Well, you kept looking at me that you were like, that's right. And then you were like, that's impressive. Like, you weren't in the room when I got that like award or press thing. You're like, oh, I didn't know that. And then
well, and I do that
stuff.
sometimes because one time I did read your actual bio, and then you and I was like, man, mom and dad must be so proud of you.
Yeah, you're like, is this even true?
Yeah.
People were horrified.
That was the best. That was the
best.
Yeah,
you were like, is this even true? And then you get into the big point at the end, because I let you out.
The very first time I went and I was nice to you, and I said, it's not every day that you get to introduce your older sister onto the Wedding MBA stage. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm welcome to my sister, Meghan Ely.
And it was just an intimate room of 500 people. Just an intimate room of 500 people.
But your mouth hit the floor. I remember looking back at you, and your mouth was like...
It was less about the related, which to your audience, we are actually not. But it's the older, since you actually have like a decade on me. But I do have the gray. And I was like, oh my God. And so it just became a thing. And it just so naturally comes out of your mouth now. And now I get stopped a lot, where people are like, oh yeah, I didn't even know you guys were related. I'm like, we're not. Like, I'm at Nace Evolve. I didn't even know Kevin was your brother. And they're walking away. And I'm like, He's not, like, even a little bit.
Well, and I just recently, so I will work that. I work you into. Oh, you should be paying me to be your publicist because
No,
I
how
work
am
you.
I a publicist?
I know because I work you into almost every podcast that I'm
Mhm.
on, or every time I speak, I somehow
My
loop
spies tell
something
me that. Mhm.
back to Meghan Ely, and I'm like, and I usually go, well, you know, my older sister Meghan Ely, and then I go on and tell my story, and
Yep.
I don't stop, and but it's the reaction of people's mouths going, I never
What?
knew, or yeah,
Did you not
what?
know?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways,
So
so if you're going that route, I think
yeah,
that would be the beginning, middle, and end of the bio. But I'm actually not related, and so I was born on one stormy day in February in New Hampshire. No, I'm like from the complete like 3,000 miles away. But no, so I am Meghan Ely, not related to Kevin, and I am a wedding publicist. So I own OFD Consulting. I've been in the industry over 20 years, got my start. I've been in hospitality since I was 14, and I worked at a lobster pool, which is like the most New England job a human possibly could have growing up. But then jumped into the world of weddings when I graduated from college and decided to go out on my own, which is like its own other story. So I've owned OFD for 15 years as a
wow,
publicist, speaker, blah, 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 blah,
you're
blah.
old.
I am old-ish. And but really the real story is Kevin came into my life in July of 2014, Nace,
In
Baltimore.
Nace, Baltimore.
And you were sitting in the crowd. I was doing a topic. I learned later, don't say yes to a topic. If someone's like, someone couldn't make it, can you do it? And I said yes. And I've never done that since. And I remember you like turned to Lindsay in the room and you said, I'm gonna
No, no,
hire
Lindsay.
her.
I walked out literally,
Uh-huh.
and don't take this the wrong way because we're
Mhm.
gonna allow cussing on my on my podcast. So, but I walked out, and remember how Nace of Experience, they used to do those
Mhm.
cool breaks with all the good food and stuff.
Yeah, the
And
food,
so
yeah.
Lindsay, who works for me, was at the conference with me, and I
Mhm.
walked out of there because Britt Bertino is the one that
Yep.
encouraged me to go see you speak. She goes, "You
Mhm.
really need to go
Shout
hear
out Britt
Megan speak."
Bertino.
Yep. And I walked out of that room. I found Lindsay, and she goes, "How was it?" I go, "We're hiring that bitch." And I didn't mean bitch in a
You
bad way.
did.
I no,
No,
I was just
but
like,
you didn't, and then you took about 6 months to actually email me because
no,
that
it's
surprised
funny.
me. You really did take that long because you tell
It
that story, you're like, and then I was like, "I'm gonna hire her," and I was like, "But I didn't hear from you until
yeah,
November."
but
No way. Yeah, I know.
no, it
Now that
was
I
more
know
like
you.
October. But you got to
Yeah.
remember, we're here in the Bay Area, East Bay, where I am. We get back in July, and then August, September, October are crazy months. Like
Yeah,
they
no,
are
no, no, totally.
insane, crazy. So I know I didn't impulsively do it right then and there, but I have
But
done
that's
it.
okay because I had my 1-year-old off site, like, running
Uh,
off to him, so we actually didn't spend any time together, and then we, as you said, we had an awkward lunch, which I thought was lovely in January.
oh, that's right. In
Yeah,
downtown Disney,
yeah, you hired me 2014, and
Tr-
then we were going to
Tortilla
TSC.
Joe's.
We were
Right?
going to TSC. And as I remember, we had this great, we'd already been working together, great lunch. But like I heard you telling the story like a year or two later, and you're like, yeah, then I had this awkward lunch with her. I was like, I
It
thought
was
it was
awkward.
delightful. It was delightful. I was like, so we have vastly different like recollections of our history. And but we've been together ever since. So we have worked together,
We
we've
really have.
served on
We've
things. We
been
how
on
many states have
association.
we, how many cities? We've done, I think we've
Oh,
been in, we have a
it's like
notes app that tracks. We've done like 20
I'm
cities
gonna
we've
say.
traveled
I
to
thought it was
together.
20 plus cities we've been in
Yeah, we
different
tracked it one
conferences.
day when we were traveling. We're like, how many times have we done this? And so
We did not do that the night of of our crazy night in New
no,
Orleans.
no,
So,
that was sitting on a that rental place in LAX. Anyways, I remember
oh
that.
yes,
And
I
then we
do
were
remember that.
yeah. So we've been like literally everywhere together. So I mean, I know your Starbucks order. Oh yeah, I know your
Yeah,
preferences for
My
everything.
Starbucks order is the easiest one though. So
Well,
it's
it's a
just
massive iced tea, as big as your
yeah,
head,
Trenta
and
black
not
iced tea.
yeah.
Yeah, there's
Anyways, that's
nothing.
our story. But we've worked
Okay.
together for years, and you've been to Richmond. I've come to Livermore. I've hung out with your family. You kindly took me in when my flight after Club Catering got canceled. So
Oh
I
yes,
spent pizza night on the first day back from school with your family.
You did in your
I
cute
did.
little convertible. I
Which I
remember
took
that
your
car.
wife because I took Jessica because I was like, she's
Yeah.
coming with me. And then we left you guys behind. But yeah, you guys have
Yeah.
always been very welcoming over the years.
We do
Long time.
love our
I have no
yeah.
plans for our, I guess next year. Wait, no. Oh, this is awkward.
Oh, yeah, it is awkward. You better plan something for
Well,
October
I was
of
gonna say we first
November.
connected in July of 10 years ago right now. So I'm looking forward to you handing me some sort of gift at the end of this.
Oh, is that like this? What was it? The third place or
I
yeah,
was
third
gonna,
place.
oh yeah, absolutely. But anyways, that's our story. So
Yeah, and here we are. So I mean, and we've served on WIPA boards together.
Yep.
You've helped out with NACE Foundation stuff.
Yeah, we've both been longtime NACE members. I've come out for Tri-Valley. I mean, everything. Really, we've served a million different things together over the years. So that's how we've traveled so much.
I'm your favorite panel guest. You tend to put me
You
on
do.
panels.
You sit on a lot of my panels, and you've definitely introduced me the most out of anybody for sure.
I know. I really was talking with Alexis already, planning your introduction for Wedding MBA
The
this
Wedding
year.
MBA coming up.
Yeah, I said
Perfect.
I have to go a different route, and I told Alexis she has to help me. So
Oh, okay, perfect.
all right.
Anyways,
All right.
our history is a long one. It's a
Yeah, as you can
it
tell,
goes way back.
We've been going now for about 8-9 minutes on the history. So that just means we're old.
Yeah, especially you. July 13th through 16th, 2014. So we literally just hit 10 years.
You really? Oh my God.
I just looked it up. Yeah.
Oh,
Happy anniversary.
that's impressive. Yeah, there you go. We're getting there. All right. So why did I ask you to be here? What do you think?
Couple things. I have theories, partly because I know all of your dark secrets. So if you're looking for ratings, I mean, obviously I'd be a good one to come and just like spill all the things, but that's only one guess. That's one guess. No, also, well, being a publicist, I mean, I've worked with you over the years and you've been on a bajillion podcasts yourself, and I see firsthand kind of the power of that. And so I figured we'd talk a little bit about podcasting. I don't know. I figured that was part of it. And plus, you can say whatever and get away with whatever with me. So it's like maybe you needed that like launching pad of you're like, let me see if I can test the waters with.
And it's a comfort thing. So I feel very comfortable with you. So that was oh yeah. See, we have to have our little nice moments. So, no, but yeah, I love being on podcasts. So and then that's when I had the idea. It was when COVID hit. And it's funny, it's taken this long to do, but it's when COVID hit and you and I sat at the food court at the Mandalay Bay during
Sabaro's Pizza.
Yep, we did.
I remember
and
that.
We were like, oh shit, the world's going to end. And we're going to do a few webinars for WIPA and keep members engaged. And because we didn't know what was going to happen.
I mean, it was literally, tell people, it was March 12th. 2020. So I think people really need to know what the date was to understand we're literally in Vegas, don't know what to do, and we're at this conference. We can't get out unless
people are leaving the conference to go fire people. People were getting fired that were at the conference.
Literally losing South by Southwest business. I remember the caterers. It was like when I say you and I were sitting there with our little pizzas, but everything around us was on fire. It was like the weirdest thing.
And I'll never forget the search party that night because our friend Jordan, he sang his rear end off that night.
He really
and
did.
It was
he did a great job.
Such a weird energy in that room.
Well, it was. No one knew what to do. We didn't know. None of us had masks, but we didn't know. We couldn't get our hands on masks, and we didn't know what to do. And even when I remember flying, and you and I, I'm sure, talked at length about it. And I talked to my team, and I was like, you don't have to come, but like I'm contracted. I have to go. We didn't know how bad it was going to be. We landed and we were like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. No.
And I think you and I were like that too. We both were. So we just got to work because we didn't know what else to do, Yeah.
But so we started the webinars and I think we did almost 60 of them when it was all said and done.
Yeah, you did 60 plus. You did an amazing job.
Yeah. And that's where it really, because basically doing a webinar was like doing a podcast. And so except I get to talk more on a podcast than I do on a webinar and ask the questions and interview. And I've always I'm inquisitive, as you know, and I like to talk. As you know, I do talk
As
a little
I
too much.
intimately know, you do like to
Yeah.
talk. No, you're
Yeah.
right. That back then, to give you massive credit, I mean, that was a game changer because it just opened up the floodgates for just this discourse in the middle of like chaos. You know what I mean? Because nobody else was doing that. Nobody else was doing that. So I was so
Yeah.
glad that you
And I think what
channeled
we
it, you
did,
know?
you and I made the decision, and we made the decision to open it up to everyone, not just WIPA members. And I think
That was so smart.
that was the game changer, because there
Mhm,
were like the time I had, and then I randomly asked David Tatera. Don't know David Tatera. He probably
mhm,
doesn't even remember being on a podcast or on a webinar with me. Um,
mhm,
but I remember we had over 500 people. It was or almost 500 people, because we had our Zoom account can only handle 500 people at the time, and I was nervous that
mhm.
we were gonna like shut. I didn't know what was gonna happen in the middle of everything
Yeah.
going on. But that's
Literally,
when,
Kevin Dennis
yeah,
breaking the internet. Look at you. Watch out,
no,
Kim Kardashian. No, that was
yeah,
great. I'm so glad that you channeled it to this because I remember, and people still reference it. It was such a game changer for the industry. It gave us community in a time where we were all stuck at home, especially us with kids who weren't getting school anymore. We're like, what the heck are we
yeah,
supposed
that
to
was,
do? And so
yeah,
you would
crazy.
come
I don't
on,
know.
and
I
it's like,
just, and
okay,
it for
we
me,
at
it
least
gave
have
me.
this going
I would
for
actually
us.
break
So
the
it was
rules
so
and go.
good.
Yeah, and I would break the rules and go into work and do them from work, and I wouldn't stay at home because it was easier to do it
Hmm.
from the office. But it just gave me something to do, and it was giving back, and it was, it was like creating a sense of community. But it's crazy to look back. That was 4 years ago, and we're still here. So
It feels like 4 decades ago, honestly.
it
I mean,
really
but you
does.
know
It
that.
really
It
does.
does.
Yeah.
It feels like so
No.
long ago. It seems like I can
Yeah.
touch that time and remember it enough. I think some of it I've blocked out though, because I'm like, I never want to think about second grade math again, like literally ever. But then it does seem so far away from now. It's like, our kids don't, or we have some similar age kids. Some of them barely remember that time. Can you imagine? They're like, oh,
No.
I guess I stayed home for a little bit. I'm like, it was 18 months.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you're in a similar state that I'm in, that we were shut down forever. And then we had friends of
Yeah.
ours that were in the middle of the US, already doing weddings in that summer. It was
Mhm.
crazy. It
I
was just
remember.
the wild times of that time. But anyway, so we
Oh,
channeled it.
memories.
We are here today. We're going to
Mhm.
have fun doing this. So,
Yeah. It
yeah,
will not be pandemic filled. This is gonna be a different theme.
oh, no, I don't ever want to.
That
Yeah, I
theme
still.
was, "What in the hell are we doing? This will be different. This will be fun and what we've learned and,
And how
tall
things have
tales."
changed. Yeah, that's the other
Yeah.
thing. Our industry through that has changed dramatically, and I think that
Yeah.
that is one thing, and it's fun to learn from other people through their trials and tribulations. That's the best part. So,
Mhm.
so I can't wait to get going and get interviewing all these wonderful people and go from there. So,
Mhm.
all
You're a
right,
big
girl.
part of my trial and tribulation. No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
You'll have to have a guest host because it's gonna get awkward. No, I'm just teasing.
Oh yeah. Oh, I wonder if I could do that. How like Letterman and Jay Leno would bring in people. I wonder if I can do that sometime. Maybe you'll be my
Maybe.
guest host.
Oh, can you imagine? Who would I bring on? I don't even know.
Oh,
I'll
I don't
guess
know.
I'll guest host and I'll interview you. We'll switch it. Go
That'll
switcheroo
be
on that.
so as someone that will be a regular on the podcast, we will have to,
Mhm.
maybe we'll do that one time. You interview me,
We'll do.
and then I'll interview you for a different one. Then
We
maybe
should
we
bring in a
will.
therapist sometime too. I mean, I think we should
Oh,
mix it up. I'm just
yeah.
kidding.
I'm all about the mental health. So yeah, the therapy
No,
for
I
you and
mean a
I.
therapist for us.
That's what I meant. So we can
Oh,
do a
okay.
therapy session
Yeah.
in front of everyone. I think that
Yeah,
might
that
be a
would be
good thing.
funny. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, I
Not
can
that
tell
therapy's
all.
hilarious because I'm a big proponent. I'm a big proponent, but
Yeah, I'll tell about all the times you picked on me as my older sister, and
mhm.
I
We'll work
still
through
am
it.
scarred. Yeah, we'll work through it all. So anyway, all right. What else you got for me before we let you go?
Who's your dream guest for the
Oh,
podcast?
it would probably be you. I'd be honest with you.
Okay,
So
enough.
that's kind of
Enough
funny.
with
No,
the
I'm serious. You are. I mean, you are my dream guest. So, probably Cindy
you've
Novotny.
peaked early.
So
You
I
peaked
know.
way early.
No, but you're again people I'm comfortable with, and someone like
Mhm.
Cindy Novotny would
Cindy
probably be.
would be
I
great.
would love. I
Mhm.
worked with her through WIPA. We actually hired her as a consultant, and
Mhm.
I mean, when it comes to wedding education, I don't think there's much people or
She's
hospitality
great.
education, because
Yeah,
yeah,
I
she's
loved her at Engage. I mean, I remember I was assigned her breakout room and it wasn't Cindy. I'm like, no, I got to go to hers because I heard her as a keynote
yeah.
and she was fabulous. So,
Well,
no,
okay,
she's
I'll
wonderful.
tell you. When I was whipper president, I would go to a lot of the chapter meetings, and so
Yeah.
anytime Cindy would speak, I would offer to pick her up. And so I would go pick
Yeah.
her up from the hotel, bring her to the event, take her back to the hotel or back to the I've dropped her off at the airport. We've had breakfast together. I really have enjoyed that, because she got, at that point, I already did my work with her as a consultant. And so she got to know
Mhm.
us, and it was valuable time. And she has a podcast. I still listen to her podcast because
Yeah.
she's brings it to a different level. And she's gone on now where she's doing more than just hospitality stuff. And she's pretty smart. So she would probably be
Okay.
one of my dream guests, I
We're
would
going to
say.
put it into the universe and say, Cindy Novotny, we look forward to having you.
Yeah, but there's a lot of great people in the wedding industry, and that's what the best part is. There's so many of us that do so much good things, and I think they're about the community and about sharing, and it's not about they don't have a lot to hide, and and I'm a big believer that the more we share, the bigger, stronger our industry is, the better
Oh,
it is. Yeah,
absolutely. I'll
yeah,
tell anyone anything. I mean, there's never been a question I haven't answered about any
yeah.
of this, putting it together, small businesses, things like that, and being just very open and honest about the industry and where it's going and stuff.
Yeah, and the biggest thing too is what works for me doesn't work for you. Just like I
Hmm.
use Acuity and you use Calendly. That's the biggest.
Yet we still are friends. No, it's true. I don't know why I did a Calendly instead of Acuity. Maybe I thought, honestly, I probably thought you were on Calendly and that's why I did it. And then it was too flipping late I was like, oh shit, okay,
No,
you're
a
on
lot. Yeah.
Acuity. But
Well,
I
and
mean, I
I'm very
probably
loyal.
assumed
That's
you were on Calendly. Yeah, you are app
yeah.
loyal. You're a loyal dude in
I
general.
am. I am very loyal with a lot of my app, but very brand loyal, as you
Yeah,
know.
you
I'm
are.
very pro Apple. I buy everything and anything Apple. I'm surprised I didn't do this for my goggles today. I should
I
have.
was gonna
Should
say you dragged
Yeah,
me to the Apple store. We're in Vegas. I'm like, what are we
I know.
buying? If
We're
something's out,
just
even
looking. You never know.
if you had one question you haven't asked me about me before, what would it be?
Oh.
You
I
know a
think I
lot.
know.
You
I think
know
I
a
know it.
lot.
Yeah.
Let's come back on
Okay.
the talk.
No, no, no,
Okay,
no.
I'm
I got
ready.
it. I got it.
I'm
Who's your
ready.
favorite
I'm
client?
ready.
Who's your favorite client of all time?
Emily Sullivan. No. That's it. Okay, we'll end on this. Here's the thing. I love all my clients in different ways. And back in the day
Okay.
when when I didn't have a membership yet, right? And so it was retainer clients, people who were on everyone was on retainer. So it was a smaller group, different than a membership, right? That's scalable. And I remember we were out here's the thing. I am historically as you know, but I'm sharing with your audience, I'm the one who goes to bed at 9 p.m. Like, can we go to dinner at 5? I want to go to bed, especially if I'm speaking. I'm very particular
Yeah.
about that. I
You're
don't
in
want
the
to be out
room.
late.
You're practicing
Yeah,
over and over.
I
Yeah.
am very, and I need sleep. I just do. And so I probably said no 100 times to you and Lindsay. I mean, just like, no, I can't. No, I can't. So we were in New Orleans I believe it was Cater Source. And it was also the opening
This
of
was a
Whip and More.
different, this
No,
was
no,
a
no, no,
different
no.
time,
No,
right?
this was the first one. We're going to talk about the first time. You and
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
2 evenings in New Orleans. This is the first one.
Okay.
And it was the Whip in New Orleans town hall. You had done a great presentation and we had all hung out. I had done all my speaking was done and my obligation to WIPA was done. So everything was done at this point. And you had gone off gallivanting at this point. So I remember turning to Emily Sullivan, who is lovely. And I turned to Emily, who's also a client. And I said, okay, I'm going, have a good night. And she said, and I quote, I am a single mom with a babysitter. You are not going to bed. And I was like, ma'am, yes, ma'am. And so at this point, to be fair, I had no speaking obligations. It checked all the boxes. So I said, okay, I'll go out. And so she hands me what's called a Pimm's. And the thing about Pimm's they don't taste like alcohol. And that is no good story has ever come from that. And I had 4 or 5, and that was just to start. And so we're having a good time responsibly. And we were like, let's go find Kevin and Lindsay because we thought that was a great idea. And we went to the French Quarter, right? That's where we walked over to. We stumbled over to, and we thought you guys would be so happy to see us. Now, Lindsay was happy to see us, but you were pissed.
I was pissed.
You were like, why are you out with her? She's your favorite client. Blah. And so that's not where that story ends. So like then skip ahead, whatever. And so you and I go to a lot of conferences a year together. Like there are some years we see each other almost every month, right? And so we were at something together and you started introducing yourself to people before the sister thing. And you said, I am Meghan's number 3 client. And Meghan's number 3 client. And I was like, what? And I realized he said Emily was number 1. But to this day, I don't think any of us know who number 2 is. But that was kind of the funny part of it. But people who don't know your humor or mine, they were kind of put off by that because they're like, whoa, what's the vibe here? And so if I was hospitable, I would have been like, oh no, his feelings are hurt, blah, blah, blah. But no. I went to Trophy Depot.
You doubled down. You doubled down.
I doubled down, and I got you a trophy. And I spent an extra $1 on the glitter ball, and it said 2017 number 3 client, Kevin Dennis. And I sent that to you, and I was like, "Here you go, jerk."
You know what's funny?
I think it's still in your office. I think you still have it.
Actually, is hanging,
and you posted it. Yeah, you posted it. Your family wished you well because they thought it was real. And I felt so bad. And that is the end of my surprise and delight story that I tell on stage. And it kills every time because I put up a picture of the trophy. It's so ridiculous. I mean, it was like the best money $10 could buy because that was the most expensive trophy they had.
Well, that and you tell the story now all the time, and
So that's our story. That's your question. No, I've told you. No, I don't. I'm not here to play favorites. But you're in the top.
Who's the
top
most
15.
pain in your ass client that I can ask you that?
I think you and I both know the answer to that. No, I'm just kidding. No, as a client, no, you're a delight. You're the type of guy
No,
who
I'll
say. No. I mean, as a client, absolutely. You have always understood the importance of press, and you respond if you're able to. That's never been a problem with you. Back in the day during the pandemic when you were WIPA president, and it was remember we used to get hit with all of that national press. You would just jump in. You were in Bloomberg and all these things because it was you just knew that it was a vehicle to help educate. And so sincerely, no. I mean, you are our longest running retainer client after all these years. So
I'm proud to say I've accomplished something.
If that's it, let it be it.
that should get me a trophy someday too.
I know. 10 years. Well, I'm going to go work on it. I'm going to go look at when you sign the contract and we'll work on I'll hand it to you at Wedding MBA in a few months. So I'm be like, here you go. Or a t-shirt or something. I don't know. We'll figure out something.
I like the t-shirt. I'll sport the t-shirt.
Exactly. Well,
I'm gonna now that you say that, I'm gonna get something about a t-shirt about you being my older sister. Now that you say something, so
I know at some point I didn't get any card from you on sibling appreciation day. That was a missed opportunity.
I know. It's been crazy around here.
I was gonna say you're not as committed as you think you are to that.
No, I am committed, but we also have a business to run. And
I'm kidding. If you were really committed, you'd hack myheritage.com or 23andMe or something. So really,
all right,
you know what I mean?
I got socks and I got funny stories, and I think that's enough.
I was gonna say we have done some crazy stuff to Lindsay over the years where we've doctored stuff to send it to her. We made her think she was a speaker at the special event, and I actually made a fake email and sent it to her.
That's right.
And I doctored it up so it looked exactly like I made it. I think I told them I did that, so they knew I was spoofing them. And I was like, "Congratulations, you're a speaker." And she
she lost her shit. She was not happy. Yeah, she was not. Or what about the time I fired your employees? But it was
that was another one too. The best part of that one was you were inviting them to come out to California for 2017 with us. It was Amanda and Audrey, and I dropped little things in their lap all week saying, I don't know, is Kevin acting weird to you? It's kind of, he wants us meeting at the end of the week. And so but I would do it so short because I couldn't get through like without laughing. So I would like, oh, I know it's kind of weird. Then I'd run off and like die. And I'd probably text you about it. And then you sat us down and you just did such a good job. I sat behind them because they couldn't see my
Well,
face.
and your face was, I was having a hard time keeping a
Well,
straight face
it's
looking at you.
ridiculous because you're just
Yeah.
like, well, it's been a really good run and da-da. And like literally, I thought they were going to vomit. And the best part was that the Wi-Fi flickered for a second. So as you were about to invite them to California and so generously fly them out,
I froze.
it flickered and froze. And I think they literally almost both died, like of despair. And I think I had to calm them down. And then it's like, you're coming. And they were so excited. That was so sweet. So they
That
had
was
the
a good
best
trip.
time. That was good. The only thing is the Golden Gate Bridge was covered in fog. So there's this picture of the two of them with like arms around each other, and it's like all fog behind them. The only thing
Lindsay
that
took
fell
him on a
through.
good, Lindsay took him on a good
Lindsay
tour of
was
the
sweet.
city and got
Yeah.
him in an out burger. There's not much. I mean,
You've taken me my first In-N-Out finally after all those years.
I
Before I
know.
stopped eating meat, you got it in early.
I know. Good old. Well, you could still get a good. My daughter's. Crazy. Ava is rare steak is what she orders when we go out to dinner.
Wow.
A rare fillet, and the waiter or waitress always looks at me, and I'm like, shake my head yes, and then I have a vegetarian, so I could not have kids more polar opposite. So, but she does enjoy some In-N-Out burgers because she gets the cheese fries and she gets a grilled cheese, and she loves
Well,
the
there
grilled
you
cheese.
go. Then it's
Yeah.
perfect. So my point in all this diatribe is that you could commit to this sister thing a little bit more. I'd like to see you
Okay,
try.
I'll work
So
on it. All
the
right.
gauntlet's been thrown.
All right. Well, it'll be nice because next week I'll be in Denver without you, and so I won't
I
have
know.
you come back. Yeah.
It's my
So
first nice experience without in 11 years. I've done 11 in a row.
wow.
That's a long time.
So did you do one before Baltimore?
I did. So 2013,
Oh.
I did Chicago. I was actually not going to apply because I was pregnant at the time, like of applying, and I was going to have a 3-month-old. And then they sent one of those emails out, and it was a form email, but it was like enough that they did outreach because not to brag. But before I was NACE Speaker of the Year, I was rejected many times in my early, like I just got turned down 100 times from NACE. And that was many years before. And so I applied. I said, you know what? If they reached out, I'm going to do it. And I got it. And I went, son of a nutcracker. Like, what am I supposed to do with a 3-month-old? So I grabbed Travis, my husband, and I brought Oliver, who's 3 months, and double Spanx. Never have I ever worn Spanx over Spanx, but I did for NACE Experience 2013. And I spoke in Chicago. Were you at that one?
No, I was not. So Baltimore was my very, very first
Was it really? Mm-hmm.
yeah, NACE experience ever. So,
I didn't realize
and
that
it
was your first one ever. Yeah, Chicago was fun.
And I knew Britt, and so and I just kept telling, and that's when I met Tim and Donald for the first time. And I said, hi. Yeah, and I said, hi, I know Britt, and Britt told me I need to know you, and like the rest is history with them.
That was
crazy.
A very significant conference for you.
It really was,
It's a
isn't
tremendous friendship ROI.
I remember
if you think about
too,
it.
Lindsay and I were supposed to fly out of San Jose, and then our flight got like full on canceled. We were freaking out. And then they put us in a taxi, which ended up being some guys like before Uber. This was before Uber. It's some guys like Toyota car with our luggage, and drove us up to SFO. And then we had to like go through Detroit into Baltimore. It was like we spent the whole day driving, and it was pouring rain that night.
Yeah, the weather
opening
wasn't
party. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
insane.
I was in and out for Baltimore because Oliver was a year. It was really hard that first like year balancing conferences with such a young kid. One of my best friends from college lived up there, so she's like, bring him, and you can just keep going back and forth. And so I would speak and then run back to her house because I think I was still nursing. It was just wild. But yeah. Chicago's my first one. So this is my first missed one in 11 years.
Wow.
So I know I'm gonna miss it.
Well, no, but then that'll even us out because I've been to every single one since, and this will be you'll miss one.
Man.
So next year when we go, it'll be because you're coming back. You'll be back next year, and
I
actually know where the conference is next year, and I can't tell you. So
I can't believe you're doing that to me. No, it was one of these things when I remember the application came out. I had a potential conflict. Well, July is always a conflict because of like Travis. I have a bunch of
Travis's
birthdays and all this stuff,
birthdays.
all the things, and you get you July babies. And so
They were good
we,
kids.
and so at the time I had a potential conflict, and then it didn't work out. The trip we were going to maybe take to Delaware. And I said, okay, well, maybe I'll look into, we'll see. But and I love Denver, like I had a great time in Colorado, but I was recently out there and
I was
the
gonna say.
elevation made me very sick. So I'm kind of like, I'm good. I'm just going to sit this one out. Shout out to the,
Well, and
to the mountains.
yeah, and I just talked to Gigi yesterday, and I told
Uh-huh.
her your story, and I said, "Girl, you need to drink lots of water. You need to,
No
take it easy."
exercising.
Yeah, and I said,
I had
"We're gonna
no
go."
idea.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
hosting hikes. I literally said let's all go hiking every morning. And then I literally had to like peel myself out of the floor and go present. I was so sick. I was like, what happened? So anyways, I'll be fine for this year. But we actually, NACE Evolve, I've had the pleasure, the one in January, February, for those who don't know, I've done the last 3 of those. And the most recent one was in Richmond. So
Richmond.
I've been with you guys for a while now.
So
So
that's the coldest weather I've been in since I've been in New
since
York. Yeah.
Oh, I
So.
was gonna say before that it would have been Wedding World DC because you complained so much about that.
Oh, okay. That's So
That you said that was the coldest it had ever
yeah, because
been.
it was -7. Okay, that was the coldest, and then it was New York. When I went to go do the SOPs for New York with that one year, it was like 8 degrees. And then I feel like when we were in Richmond, it was in the teens the whole time. It was freaking cold. As California people don't do cold, so we just don't. It's not.
You really don't.
Not in our blood. It just that's why we have convertibles and all that. We drive
all
around
those things,
and
all that jazz.
yeah. That's what we do here in California. So anyway, but Miss Ely, how will people connect with you?
They can find me over at oftconsulting.com. That's the best way to find me. I'm over at OFT Consulting on Instagram. I am often hanging out next to you at conferences. I was going to say, I'm usually like standing right next to you at conferences. So if you need to find me physically, that's where you can find me.
Okay. That'll work. And then I'll be the one wearing I'm Megan's brother t-shirt.
Yeah, something. So, we're going to figure it out.
I know. It's going to say, ask me about Megan is what it's going to say. That's going to be. That's going to be what I'm wearing at Wedding and Be, I think.
I'll know how to find you. I'll know how to find you.
I'll let you pick the colors. All right.
Okay, perfect.
Right. So we'll wrap this up. Thank you. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. I'm honored.
No, and
thank you.
No, thank you.
I'll be back because we've barely scratched the surface.
I'm going to say well, maybe we'll just do our next therapy session or our first therapy session live. We'll have to figure who our therapist is and bring him or her on to be our therapist
to work us through.
I have some ideas in mind, so we'll have fun there. But anyway, all right.
Can you imagine?
I have ideas. Actually, I think Alexis would be a good therapist for us, but there's lots of people. But, yeah, Lindsay would be good.
I don't think she'd want that job. I don't think either of those two want that gig.
I think Morgan Montgomery might be good too.
I think that would be perfect.
Yeah, she would really, because she would give it to both of us. She wouldn't take it. She wouldn't take either of our shit. She would call us out, spade a spade. It would be funny. So anyway, all right, darling. I can't thank you enough. Thank you for being my older sister.
Anytime.
Yeah. And then, so this is our first episode wrapped up. And so be tuned in next week for another episode of Mind Your Wedding Business. Thank you. All right. Thank you, darling. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mind Your Wedding Business podcast, brought to you by Wedding IQ. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode. Please get in touch with me if you have a topic you would like for me to cover, or if you are in the area of your business you're struggling with, let us know. We'll be happy to help. I encourage you to check out our other episodes on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're a fan We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love for you to subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. It helps others find our podcast so they can learn from our guests too. Thanks again for listening.